Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand as Manchester United want a midfielder. We spoke about this on the show yesterday, but another target has come out. Fabian Ruiz from PSG. A very ambitious target. How truthful is this, and could Manchester United pull this off? Especially since, what is it, 7 days now until Manchester United are back in pre-season training. Our worst ever Premier League finish, the worst ever Manchester United side, by admission of their own manager, Ruben Amorim, and he's got the same squad plus Cunha. So are we going to be able to pull off a deal at Fabian Ruiz? I would question it, but we will talk about it and we'll get your comments in on that as well. Also, some big news on the outgoings, and wow, do we need it. Garnacho, could he be on the cards for Aston Villa? I'm going to talk you through that and how that one could happen, especially with the Ollie Watkins rumours heating up. And also, Bayern Munich in for Marcus Rashford. His dream is Barcelona, but Bayern Munich do have the money there, and that would also be a great team for him to join. Could they go in for a permanent move for Marcus Rashford, which would give us the funds to go for a midfielder, which we very clearly want. We very clearly want a midfielder. We've been linked to Edison, we've been linked to Wharton, we're now being linked to Fabian Ruiz. There's been soft links to Richard Rios, who I would love, but I don't know how viable that is. And there's been a few other names as well. Let's talk about it. I've also got a couple other things I want to bring in, right? So I need to have a chat about the transfer window so far, because I'm not a very patient person anyway, but I've really tried to remain calm and remain patient. But we're in July. It's the 1st of July. It's 7 days till the pre-season training starts. What is going on? I want to have a conversation about that, because I've seen a lot of United fans that are really calm about this. This is the worst ever United side we've had. Like, I don't like to be negative, but we should be up in arms. We should be making drastic changes. And we are moving as slow as a snail right now, and it needs to be spoken about, and some pressure needs to be put on. I'm not talking about panic buying. I'm not talking about overpaying, but we need to do something. We absolutely have to speed up. And we've been speaking on the forum group chat. We've been talking about the transfer window and options for a striker, and Ricky has made some very interesting comments, to say the least. So I want to bring them into the show as well to just give that a little bit of airtime and have some of the fans' opinions on that. But get your comments in. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let's start off with the news. And I saw a few people, rightly so, you know, kind of calling this out before we went live, saying we're never going to pull off Fabian Ruiz. We're not going to get Fabian Ruiz. And I will say it day in, day out. We are a news show. We are going to bring in the news, and this is coming out from the biggest, one of the biggest outlets in France, which is where Ruiz plays. He plays for PSG. He's Spanish, but he plays for PSG, and this is coming out from a huge outlet. And of course, there's different areas where it might be coming from, and he might be trying to get a new contract, but we're going to cover it, especially since it's very well documented that Ruben Amorim wants a midfielder. So it's coming out from Foot Mercato that Manchester United are pushing to sign Fabian Ruiz. They want to make a big move, but PSG don't want to let him go so easily. And then again, Manchester United are targeting a move for Fabian Ruiz. So 6'2", very good technically, physical, combines them physical attributes to how good he is technically on the ball. Spanish midfielder, 29 years old, so isn't exactly a spring chicken, but we've been linked to Paulina, who's also 29 from Bayern Munich. So do you remember when Ineos was saying they were only going to buy, 25 and below? But we've been linked to a few 29-year-olds recently. Ollie Watkins, Paulina, and now Fabian Ruiz. Ruiz is an excellent player. I would love him at Manchester United. I mean, he's just won the Champions League, starting in the midfield with PSG. Any player that's playing in that PSG side under Luis Enrique is a quality player, let's be honest. And I absolutely do think he'd improve us. But if PSG don't want to let him go and they would want big money for him, there's absolutely no chance. We don't have big money to spend on a midfielder. So I would kind of file this under the section of very unlikely, but maybe. There's things that we want in life, and I'm sure Manchester United have scouted Ruiz, but I just don't think we'd be able to pull it off. We spent all summer trying to negotiate with PSG for Ugarte, who was a midfielder that they wanted to sell. They didn't even want him. They needed to get rid of him to fund the João Neves deal. Luis Enrique didn't like Ugarte's profile. He wasn't part of their plans. They needed to sell him to bring in money to buy João Neves, their big signing of the summer. They remained calm. They handled it like bosses and they got the money out of us. They would not let Ugarte go for less than the amount that we paid, and we tried to negotiate millions off it all summer long. And this is a player they didn't even really want. Never mind Ruiz, who they want to stay. I just don't think Manchester United are good enough to be able to negotiate this sort of deal. Ruiz might be open to joining Manchester United. You know, at that age, players do become open to joining Manchester United. We still hold that big club name, and it's an exciting project. I actually do think it is an exciting project, trying to bring Manchester United back to the top. He has got that experience, but I just don't think we'd be able to negotiate with PSG for this. Also, having a little deep dive into Ruiz, and he's only got 2 years left in his contract. So is this a little bit of agent talk, trying to get Ruiz a new contract at PSG, maybe trying to scare PSG into offering Ruiz a new contract? It might possibly be that as well. So United might like him, but our name also could be being used in there. Let me just actually have a look as well. How much did Man United pay for Ugarte? We paid an initial fee of 42 million, but the deal could be worth as much as 50.7 million. Oh, I thought we paid around 60 million for Ugarte, so it's not as much as I thought. I still think it's too much. I do still think it's too much, but Ugarte is of the age range. I think he was like 23 when we bought him. Ruiz is 29. Ruiz is much, much better though. And, you know, he's starting for PSG in a year where they've been absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. So he would cost too much money, and I just don't think it's going to happen. But I thought I'd bring it into the show for you guys. David Gocki, a member for 20 months, says Fabian Ruiz is an intelligent midfielder. He knows when and how to attack to not get in trouble in the defence, and he scores if he does attack. Alex King, a member for 8 months, says agent-driven new contract incoming. Well, we've had that. We've had this plenty of times before, haven't we? I mean, we've had players use our name to get a new contract. It's not going to be the first time. It's not going to be the last. Like I said, I would welcome Ruiz and his technical ability and his intelligence on the ball and off the ball with open arms. Our midfield could do with his calmness, his composure, his intelligence. He's elite, and he would definitely improve the current squad, but I just don't think we're capable of doing it. So we'll bring it in, but we'll park it. The good news is that Manchester United are being linked to midfielders, and we need a midfielder. We've been linked to Wharton, now we've been linked to Edison, now we're being linked to Ruiz. Richard Rios is, I know, who the majority of this community want. I've watched a bit of him at the Club World Cup, and I would want Richard Rios as well. I think it's going to be difficult, but I would keep an eye on Richard Rios. I think this is possible if United sell. If Man United can sell permanently Garnacho, Rashford, no loans, and actually make some sales happen, Juventus deep into talks with Jadon Sancho as well will bring that in, then I think Richard Rios could be one that's on the cards. I don't think Palmeiras will ask for a huge fee. He doesn't want to decide his future until, you know, after the Club World Cup, and he's a really exciting profile at the age range we would want, you know, got the attributes that we'd want for that midfield. It's something that I would definitely keep an eye on, and I don't think he would cost us an arm and a leg either. It's a big if. I know, I can see people, you know, I can see the people at home watching saying it is a big if, but he's one that would really get me excited. I think could be a really intelligent signing if Manchester United can shift some players and get some money in to make that midfield signing. It looks like that is something we are trying to do. It is concerning me how much time we actually have spent on the Mbumo deal. It feels like, how long have we been doing the Mbumo deal now? It must be about a month at least, but it feels like longer. And we're probably going to pay exactly what Brentford wanted. We've wasted nearly a month of a transfer window. Bear in mind, everyone, not to alarm you all, because I did want to bring this into the show, and we've got more news to bring in. We've got Rashford, we've got Garnacho, we've got Sancho. But I wanted to have a chat about this, and I wanted to see where you guys stood. I wanted to get your opinions in, so make sure you do. And can run a poll if you want me to run a poll. But I was having a chat on the forum group chat just earlier. It's 6 weeks until our first game of the Premier League season. The new Premier League season, it's 6 weeks. It feels like we've negotiated Mbumo for a month. Time can fly like that within a transfer window. And I don't want to be signing players either a week before our first game of the season, so they have no time to bed in, and you're wasting the first few games. I want this squad to be ready, sharp, and raring to go for that first day of the season. You know, we're in a situation this year where we've not had the Club World Cup. We've not had the Euros. We've not had the World Cup. We've not had an extra competition. Ruben Amorim is going to get a full pre-season with his squad. And we're dilly-dallying around. We've signed one player and we've not even made an outgoing yet. I mean, unless you count Christian Eriksen and Victor Lindelof leaving on a free as an outgoing, which I don't. Like, that is, a contract coming to an end. So we're in a really good space here, a good opportunity to get players in, get outgoings done, and have a squad that can be together on a pre-season tour in the US, train under Ruben Amorim, get some vital experience under their belts, and have that vital time together to be ready and prepared for the Premier League season. And I will live by this saying, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. Manchester United have done that continuously. I would have thought under our new regime, under Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox, Christopher Vell, the team that Ineos has put together, we would be much better prepared. Last season, I could kind of understand why we're a bit late on a few signings. Dan Ashworth didn't come through the door for a long time. We were waiting for a while on gardening leave. Same with Omar Barada. The team hadn't been together throughout the season to work on the transfer window. It was quite a rushed job. And I was all right with the transfer window last season. I thought we signed some decent players. I would have liked us to be a bit quicker on some deals, but all in all, it was decent. Probably give it a 6 or 7 out of 10, which for United is actually pretty good. This summer, and I don't want this to get twisted of me being negative, because I really don't want to be negative. I just want to be positive. I love Manchester United and I want us to do the best we possibly can, but I have concern. And the reason I have concern is the only signing we have done and completed right now is Cunha. And everybody's walking back into training in a week. And Cunha, absolutely, it's a great signing. I've rated it a 9 out of 10 signing. I think we paid maybe a little tiny bit too much, but it was his release clause. There's no avoiding that. It felt like we did the deal pretty seamlessly, pretty quickly, sorted out the instalments with Wolves. And he is tailor-made to Ruben Amorim's system. I think he's going to take this team up levels. I think he's brilliant. I think he absolutely starts, and I think he's a welcomed addition. Great off corners, set pieces. He's a goal scorer. He's a ball carrier, which is what we're lacking. I think he's a really good signing. But this is a Manchester United side that finished 15th under this current manager. Under Ruben Amorim, this Manchester United squad, bar Cunha, finished 15th. Manchester United finishing 15th and having a squad that performed that poorly, there should have been drastic measures. It should have been alarm bells. We should have been doing everything we can to ensure that we have provided this manager that you went and got out of Sporting midway through a season and brought into that mess and had that kind of season with. You've got to back him in his first full window. You've got to do it. And we had to have a plan in place, whether we won the Europa League or didn't, where you had a striker in. It was our priority going into this window. It was our priority back at Christmas. We're still not in talks with the striker. And our pre-season starts next week. We're still not in concrete talks with the striker, and it takes us a month to usually sign someone. That is unacceptable. And Bumo is taking years at this point. It's taken a long time. And again, don't get me wrong, I think that is a class signing. It's again another a 9, 10 out of 10 signing. It's brilliant business, Premier League proven, the next best right winger in the Premier League performance-wise last season after Mo Salah. Fantastic signing. Great age, great experience, great work ethic, but we've not yet completed it. And we've spent so long doing it. We've still got midfielders to get. We've got outgoings that have to happen. Anthony might be welcomed back into pre-season, but Ruben Amorim doesn't really want him. Garnacho and Rashford have fallen out with the manager, so even if they are there, there's no future for them, and the manager, has already decided their fate at the football club, and it just kind of adds awkwardness into the tour for the squad, for Amorim, and also, for Manchester United in general because of the media around it. And then there's Sancho as well, who, we know that we want to move on is on a massive wage and has underperformed and underdelivered. And even the goalkeeper situation. Are we getting a goalkeeper? Are we not? 1 minute we're going for Emi Martinez and we want a number 1. The next minute it's gone completely quiet and it feels like Onana's going to be the keeper going into next season. But we're not even linked to a number 2. We need a competitive... If we're going to keep Onana, we need a competitive number 2. What's Bayern doing? What's his future? Because... Are we moving him on? he's not good enough either. He needs to be moved on, and surely that can't be a difficult deal to do. And I think he does have ambitions to move on as well. And who's our second goalkeeper going to be to compete? We've got the point I'm trying to get across is we have got a hell of a lot to do and to make happen in a very short space of time. And this is for a club that is renowned for moving super slowly in the window. And I'll come back to this. People might want to blame Ineos. People might want to say they've not made that much of a difference. Okay, yeah, we're not overpaying. And the wages that we're bringing players in on are much better. Cunha's on a good wage. Last summer, the wages were much better. We're not giving out ridiculous wages. And the transfer fees, they're not small, but they have come down. We're not playing absolute ridiculous money. Like, have we even signed anyone over the 60 million mark under Ineos? I don't think we have. Lenny Yoro might have been touching it, but we all know why. Generational centre-back, in my opinion. And we had to try and get him off Real Madrid. But all in all, the fees have come down, the wages have come down. But people might want to blame the Ineos team around this. They might want to, kind of point fingers there. But I'll come back to this. The Glazers are still heavily involved in that football club. It might have been last year, even the year before, I had some very interesting conversations with people very well in the know at Manchester United. And I won't name names because I don't know if they'd want me to put their name with that information. But the Glazers, specifically Joel Glazer, has to sign off on every single decision. And he takes an age. Every single decision. What, add-ons, what different sections of the bid, what players we're going for. Every little bit, when even if you're having a phone call with Brentford to discuss a certain tiny area of the deal, they'll have to, have that discussion with Joel Glazer, get in contact with him and have him sign off on it. And sometimes, the United recruitment team and the negotiating team are sat there waiting to make things happen, but they haven't had a reply yet from Joel Glazer and the Glazers. They're waiting for them to approve it. Every single thing has to be approved by the Glazers. Now, we were told that, Ineos would have control over the footballing side of things, but then there were some reports this year that Joel Glazer is still heavily involved with day-to-day runnings of the club. So I'd love to know the insight. I'd love to know if he's still got that much control, where it lies, because I think that could be the issue right now with the transfer window. I think Ineos are trying to make a difference. I genuinely do believe that. I think we have made a difference in some aspects. Our targets are better. We're going for Premier League proven players at a cheaper cost that are not, no one's ever guaranteed to be 100% successful, but have a very good success chance rate, basically, because, they've been successful in the Premier League. Getting good profiles in for what the manager needs, and the wages aren't extortionate. So changes are happening, and I am liking the direction we are going in. But I think the reason why we might still be moving super, super slow like we always have done is because of that involvement still from the Glazers, and that must be tough for Ineos to deal with as well. But they knew what they were getting into, so I'm not making excuses for them. But it is really frustrating as a fan to see clubs that were way more successful than us last season, to see Liverpool, to see City, even Arsenal now have picked up the speed. They're already way ahead of us, and they've all signed more players than us already this summer, and the good players as well. Every single signing they've made, I thought, that's going to improve them. That's a cracker of a signing. Like most of them I have. I mean, Arsenal still haven't got their striker yet, but they're moving in the window. They're looking for Eze now. They've got Subamendi in. They've got a centre-back in. We all know what Liverpool have done is just exceptional. And the way they've even sold Gerald Kwanzaa as well. Man City had the Club World Cup to think about, but they've brought in some good players. At Chelsea as well, we know what Chelsea are like. I mean, they move ridiculously quick, don't they? I mean, I'm not 100% sold on Chelsea's strategy, but at least they're showing a bit of ambition. And we're miles behind. We're in 15th, and we're just not doing enough. We're not doing enough, and I think it has to be spoken about, because there's people, out there saying, be calm, things are going to happen. We just need to sell. Time is ticking, and we're not advanced, and it takes us a while. And I'm just worried that Ruben Amorim is going to be asked to turn water into wine. This squad came 15th minus Cunha. Is Cunha going to take us 10 places up in the table? Because that's what we need to be aiming for. And I do believe we will do more than this. But again, you don't want to be rushed. You want to embed the players. And I just don't want us to hit panic stations like we have done in the past. But look, I've gone on a massive kind of kind of spiel there, because I'm frustrated because I want this club to be the best, and I don't think we're doing enough, and I wanted to talk about it. But yeah, let me know. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I mean, I've been going on for that long that my screen's frozen, so let me pull up some of your super chats as well. And this is the thing as well, someone just made a great point there. Our first game of the season is against Arsenal. It's not, I mean, I'd worry about United against any team in the league, and I don't want to disrespect any team, but it's not as if we're going playing Leeds United on the first day. You know, easy 3 points for the season. You know, 6 points on the board playing Leeds. God, that might come back to bite me. But we're playing Arsenal, like a very good Premier League side. We've got to be prepared for that. King Nando says, hello from the United States. My two countries, Guatemala and USA, face off in the semis of the Gold Cup. Can't decide who to support. Enjoy them both. Enjoy them both. Jacob Fatu says, Sir Stake wants a lower Mbumo fee, was always 60 mil. It has always been 60 mil, and you can't expect it not to be. We paid 62.5 for Cunha. If anything, Mbumo had a better season. Very similar players in terms of the output last season. But, you know, they're both the same age, same profile. Who are we trying to kid? Who are we trying to kid? We knew that, and we could have got it done earlier if you know, United should have decided, are we willing to pay 60 million? United should have had this conversation. Look, they've seen us just do a deal with Cunha for 62.5 mil. And Boom had a better season, maybe, but if not, very, very similar seasons, right? Are we prepared to pay 60 mil for Mbumo, yes or no? Yeah, we are. Right, let's pay 60 mil then. And I understand it first, going in low and trying to negotiate a little bit and, you know, seeing if you can get a cheaper deal. But it's been a long time. And we spent weeks coming up with our second bid that even still got rejected. Like, United should know if they're going to walk away from this deal or not, and they should have known this a lot earlier. So either pay the 60 million, which is a fair asking price, or don't, and move on to a different target. Don't waste. And this is the thing, Brentford know now. Brentford know we've spent a month of our transfer window on Mbumo. Are United just going to walk away after it being publicly known that we want him and have spent a month going for him? They know that we won't. They know we'll pay it. They know we'll pay it. So it's just, we're not going to walk away from that. And they know that. And United's negotiating there, in my opinion. It's just obvious. It's obvious. And we've not, if you did really want to get money off that deal, we've not played it very well in terms of making that happen, because everybody knows we're going to keep pushing forward with this. And even if we do pay the 60 million, no one can say we've overpaid. It's what he's worth. Yasso says, I like Ruiz, but we need someone more defensive, a classic number 6. Anders Stanton says, owners keep ignoring January, saying we'll do our business in the summer. Now we're not doing anything in the summer. This ownership is a total joke. Well, the funny thing is, if we actually would have done business in January, we might have ended up winning the Europa League. And then we would have had more opportunity to spend in summer because we'd have more money and more profit in. So ignoring January is something that could come back to bite us. To be fair, we brought in Dorgu and Aiden Heaven, but I think even they were probably surprised at how good Aiden Heaven was when he came in. And I'm not going to take anything away from them. It was a great deal. £1 million for a player of that quality and that age, fantastic. But realistically, our only senior signing was Dorgu. Aiden Heaven's just kind of jumped the gun, hasn't he? Was that enough to go out there and win us the Europa League? I think if we had to go and get a left wing back. But what we were massively missing was goals, and we didn't address that. We didn't address a forward player. We let Rashford go. We were very close to letting Garnacho go. We let Anthony go, and we didn't bring anybody in, even on loan, to help out with goals. And if we had goals, we might have won the Europa League. You never know. But thank you, everyone, for getting your comments in and letting us know your thoughts on there. But yeah, and my friend on X, FPL Fraser as well, said, you know, United should have signed 4+ players before pre-season. Finishing 15th as Manchester United is an absolute embarrassment, and we needed to have a huge reaction from that. And I just don't think we've had the reaction that I thought we were going to have, even despite, you know, not winning the Europa League. I thought we would have moved a little bit quicker than this and kind of been like, right, we can never finish 15th again. That was unacceptable. Let's make sure this doesn't happen. But it just doesn't feel like there's much urgency about us. But anyway, let's talk about Garnacho and Rashford and how we can get money into this football club. And I wanted to talk about Garnacho first, actually, because, you know, we've heard a little bit towards the end of Mark's morning show about the Bayern Munich being interested in Marcus Rashford. But what does this do for Alejandro Garnacho? Now, David Ornstein reported that Chelsea have had conversations around Alejandro Garnacho. We know that Chelsea was Alejandro Garnacho's preferred destination in January, and he does want a Premier League move. I don't think Chelsea are going to end up going for Garnacho. I'd be surprised. I would be surprised if they did. I won't massively rule it out, but I think they just want a way to offload Nkunku. Where I think Garnacho could go is Aston Villa. I think Garnacho genuinely could go to Aston Villa, and here's a few reasons why. At the end of the season, Manchester United approached Aston Villa to talk about a potential, move where two separate deals, because we'd want the profit from Rashford, where we would go and buy Ollie Watkins and they would buy Marcus Rashford. We've had interest in Watkins. That was put out yesterday from The Athletic. And that didn't end up happening because Marcus Rashford wants a Champions League side. Aston Villa don't have that, thanks to Manchester United, actually, on the last game of the season. And he also wants to compete for titles, and his preference is to move abroad. So that didn't materialise. We still hold interest in Ollie Watkins, but we'd have to move on Højlund, according to The Athletic from yesterday's report. So that was an approach made. Garnacho has been linked to Aston Villa over the last few weeks a couple of times. Garnacho also posted in an Aston Villa shirt on his holidays, the very controversial Rashford Aston Villa shirt that kind of left a sour taste in a lot of Manchester United fans' mouths. And Villa have just sold their women's team to bring some money in and to help them with PSR and FFP. They are looking for a left winger. They were looking at Rashford and they have looked at Garnacho. Garnacho's preference is the Premier League. Chelsea have just got Gittins, they've got Delap, they've got Neto, they've got Madueke. I mean, the list could go on. I doubt they're going to go for Garnacho too, especially for the price United want, which is around 60 million. Could we do some sort of deal with Aston Villa where they go for Garnacho and we could still even end up going in for Ollie Watkins because we are in contact with Aston Villa over that deal? It makes sense to me. They want a left-sided player. Unai Emery is the manager who is renowned for getting the best out of players that have maybe lost their way a little bit. Garnacho. I think Garnacho would suit the way Aston Villa plays. He wants to stay in the Premier League. He clearly likes Aston Villa. He's wearing the shirt on his holidays. And United have already started them contacts with Aston Villa. I really think this is a move that could materialise. I think it'd be a good move for Villa. I think it'd be a good move for Manchester United. How would you feel about Alejandro Garnacho going there? But with Rashford ruled out of going there and them needing a left winger, that being on their high list of priorities going into next season, it's definitely something I'd keep an eye on. And I think Garnacho would do well there. I don't know if he'd start every single game, but I think it'd be the similar situation to Rashford when he went there, where you kind of, in and out the team competing for your place. But I think it would do him a world of good. He would kick on. Unai Emery is a great manager to bring the best out of young talent. Garnacho definitely has the talent. He needs his ego bringing down a little bit and, his mentality to shift a little bit. But he wants to continue to compete in the Premier League. And it's the sort of Premier League side that I could envision him at. I mean, get in the comments down below what you think about that. And could we have them conversations with Aston Villa and maybe tie it into Ollie Watkins' move as well? Because they might have some money to spend now, Aston Villa, after selling their women's team to kind of bring in money that way. So it's something to watch out for. And then on the Marcus Rashford situation, I got excited when Christian Folk said that Marcus Rashford and Bayern Munich, could be something that develops. But this is the news that has come in on this front. Bayern Munich are considering a move for Manchester United's Marcus Rashford. Bayern scouts are aware of his profile and Let me start that again. Bayern Munich are considering a move for Manchester United's Marcus Rashford. Bayern scouts are aware of his profile and the prospect of signing him. So just reading that, I'm thinking this could be a great move. Bayern have money. They can afford to pay us a transfer fee. They can afford Marcus Rashford's wages. They pay quite big wages at Bayern Munich anyway. It's just come out from Ornstein that Rashford's prioritising a move abroad. Ticks that box. He wants to compete for titles. They win the Bundesliga near enough every year. He wants to play with the best players. Harry Kane's there, who he already knows from England. You know, they've got Elise. There's some good players in that team. Jamal Musiala as well. And he wants to play Champions League football. Bayern Munich are in the Champions League. That's ticking a lot of boxes. I actually think Marcus Rashford would be brilliant in Bayern Munich. I think it'd be a great move for Manchester United. You shift his wage and you would get some money in, because I think they could afford to do it on a permanent transfer. And I think it'd be a great move for Marcus Rashford. I think that league suits him. I mean, Sancho absolutely, bosses that league. Sancho's most successful years have been in the Bundesliga. I think his pace against Bundesliga defenders would be fantastic. I think it suits the way he likes to play, going 1v1, the cutting in and shooting. I think he'd be good there. I really do. I think Kompany's the type of manager that could, work with him, nurture him and get the best out of him. I think that would be a good move all round. I then continued to read some of the reports, and it says on here, Bayern Munich are the newest club interested in Marcus Rashford. His name is in Bayern Munich's long list, behind the main candidates, Barcola, Nico Williams, Leao and Luis Diaz. So in reality, Marcus Rashford's Bayern Munich's 5th choice winger to bring in. And that's what kind of brought me down to earth a little bit. I think we'll be looking at a Barcelona loan move for Rashford if we're lucky, to be honest with you. Although Rashford must know he's got interest if it keeps being put out there, and it's clearly being briefed, to the likes of Ornstein. He must have some indication that there are clubs willing to go in for him if he's continually briefing that he only wants a Champions League club and wants to compete for titles. Surely. Because he don't want to be left at the end of the window without a club, coming in for him. So surely there must be some sort of interest. The only thing that kind of respins a positive back on to that is I don't think they'll be able to get Barcola out of PSG. Nico Williams is probably going to end up going to Barcelona. I know that deal is stalled, but I think he will. Rafael Leao, good player, but I don't think he's necessarily a better player than Marcus Rashford. And I think Rashford could compete, with Leao to get in there at Bayern Munich. And Luis Diaz, the name keeps being floated about. Barcelona were interested in him as well. Saudi have massive interest in him. But I don't think Liverpool want to sell him unless it's for massive money. Look, Bayern, 40 million and Marcus Rashford's yours. They're absolutely going to ask for more than 40 million, Liverpool, for Luis Diaz. So ultimately, I think Rashford could be a good move for them if and things can change, and they might look through that and they might think it's the best option for them. And if you think about it, I think he'd be a great Sané replacement for them. I really do. And that's what who they're trying to replace. I think he'd suit that league. I think he'd do well there. I think it'd line up well, but it's just whether Bayern Munich actually do want to move on Marcus Rashford, because at the moment it's kind of looking like his 5th choice in line in their target list, which doesn't really put him in great stead. We have some people in the comments. Sarath says Leao is miles better than Rashford. I don't think he is. I think Leao's a good player. And like I said, with Rashford, for me, it's never really been about the ability. It's been more about the consistency, the work ethic. And I think if he has, the bit between his teeth playing for a Champions League club where he wants to prove himself, there'll be no problem. Similar like he was trying to prove himself at Aston Villa. Bayern, he'll definitely be trying to do that. At Barca, he'd definitely be trying to do that. Leao plays, again, not in the Premier League. If Leao comes to the Premier League and absolutely rips it up season after season, okay, I'll put some admittance out there that, okay, maybe he might be better than Rashford. But from what I've seen, I think Rashford is at least as good as Leao, if not better. I've watched Leao for Portugal and he's very hit and miss. I've watched him for Milan, very hit and miss. When he's on it, he's fantastic. But he doesn't, Rashford doesn't either, doesn't have the best work ethic in terms of tracking back, and, sometimes can lose the ball pretty easily as well. Similar traits to Rashford. They're very, very similar players, to be honest with you. Jason Garbett says, Rashford is deluded, and if no one buys him, he's still got 300 grand a week to fall back on. Pranay says, it's not a stretch to say that we have a good relationship with Bayern after taking the likes of De Ligt and Mazraoui off their books. That's pretty true as well. A good relationship with Bayern Munich could help us out. It could. Jacob Fatu says Rashid Leao and Sane are actually quite similar. I think, like I said, I think Rashford would suit him. I think he'd fit him like a glove. Whether they want to go and spend that money on him, we'll have to wait and see. It doesn't seem like he's top of the list as of now. But thankfully, there's still, quite a few weeks in the transfer window left to go. And it might be one of them, as Romano would say. It might be the domino effect. The domino effect of the transfer window, where as soon as a few of these wingers start moving, Bayern Munich might accelerate on Rashford. We've got to hope and pray. I've got to try and manifest something good from somewhere, because in order to get the midfielders in we want, news to start coming out on a goalkeeper, we have to start having some outgoings. We have to start kicking on. And if I'm United, I'm flying over there and I'm pitching it. I'm pitching Rashford to Bayern Munich. I am. Sometimes you've got to take matters into your own hands. Rohith Krishina says, why will the Ruiz come from Champions League winner to our relegation club? I believe our transfer season has two strategies, one to send players on loan and the other to fool fans. Lol, I can understand where your negativity is coming from, because it has been a massively underwhelming transfer window so far. We have Rob Always United says, we need to cough up for Mbeumo and move on, Beth. I mean, I wish that could happen. I wish I could make it happen. I absolutely do, but it just feels like we are not for moving any quicker than we currently are. I don't even know if we'll get it within the next week. I don't know when it'll happen, but it does feel like the Mbeumo news is just suddenly kind of flatlined. Now, let me bring this in just to kind of finish and round up the show on the comments from Ricky in our forum group chat, because just to kind of bring it into the show and have your opinions on this. Also, just quickly, I'll bring this in because we are a news show and we bring in the news, but it's not really anything that new. I feel like every single day when I do this 2 p.m. show, I'm giving you a Sancho update, and it's literally maybe 2 words are changing in it, but it's new, so I'll bring it in. And it's from Sky Sports. Juventus have continued to work on a deal to sign Jadon Sancho. Club-to-club contacts are ongoing. United want 25 million. We know this. However, it is not an easy deal to do, but Sancho is very likely to have to take a pay cut. Juventus officials are in dialogue with Sancho's camp over personal terms. This is how the dialogue's going to go. We want to sign Sancho. We're willing to pay United 25 million, which is their asking price. Let's discuss personal terms. We'll offer you 110 grand a week. Sancho will say, I want 300 grand a week. Juventus will say, we can't do that. How about 150 grand a week? He'll say, I didn't even take 150 grand a week at my boyhood club. I want 300 grand a week. Then it goes dead silent. Because Sancho's wage demands are just out of the question. Turkey, I think Turkey's one to watch with Sancho. They're somehow managing to cover John Duran's salary requests and salary situation from Saudi. And they've been linked to Osimhen, who has big salary demands as well. Turkey have a way of covering these salaries. It's one to watch with Jadon Sancho. Juventus is also one to watch, but if he's not willing to compromise his salary for his boyhood club, is he going to be willing to compromise it for Juventus? I'm not sure, but I thought I'd bring it in because it is the news. But apparently he doesn't want to go and play in Turkey. He wants to stay in a top 5 league. Can someone just have a word with him and say, no one in a top 5 league is going to pay you 300 grand a week? So you need to make a decision. Jacob Fatu says the Turkish league has better taxes, plus I think the big wages are paid by sponsors, similar to Brazil. Pez Blow says, will Mark oil up if we sell Rashford and Sancho, Beth? You'll have to ask him. You'll have to ask him. I wouldn't know the answer to that one. I would assume it would be a no, but you'll have to ask him. Let me bring in. Is that something that you'd really want to see? Is that something you'd really want to see? Come on. So we were talking in the chat, and I'll bring this in. Tull said, we're slowly approaching 30-plus-year-old panic signing time. And I'm saying, I don't know how people are happy with this. We're taking way too slow. And Ricky said this, Watkins is a big improvement. Plus, Get Watkins, get Calvert-Lewin on the bench, and we'll have a sub-striker who's miles better than our usual starter. What's not to like? Made 28 league appearances for Everton last season, mainly from the bench. Perfect for us. Marginal gains. And then get Sancho on the tour, and the manager will be gobsmacked at how good he is. Like Ten Hag when he saw Evans, and Evans trained with them on the tour. You've got a proper decent bench then. Watkins starting, Calvert-Lewin off the bench. Get Ricky in charge of recruitment. Would you be happy with that? I'll leave you with that one, everyone. Get your thoughts on that down below. I'll just have to preface to say this. I don't agree. I do not agree. One bit. Watkins, I'm like on the fence about, but it'd probably be a no. Calvert-Lewin, absolutely not. You know, it's just another player to join Luke Shaw in the injury room. And Sancho, I mean, I can't believe there's still, Ricky still thinks that there's a chance that Sancho could stay next season. I mean, if he does end up staying, I can't speak. Anyway, you can speak. Get your comments in down below. Smash a like on the video if you've not already. Thought I'd leave you with that Ricky classic. Have a lovely Tuesday if you've not already, everyone. Any breaking news, we will bring it to you. Lake on the Moon says Ricky needs to be put on timeout for 6 months. Oh, don't. We love him. It gives, you know, I don't want to be disrespectful. Everyone's got different opinions, and that's what this community is about. It's all about different opinions. But, you know, you can take them, you can digest them, and you can go, no, we're not having that. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I will see you on the next one.